Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSP Magazine. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
Come fly with me. Oh no, I'm not going to sing, Marco. That's
wow, actually, it sounded pretty good. Have you been right? I was like, "What are you doing?" No, good. I mean, I know you have your background in music, so
this is a new aspect of the show that I think Sean would like to bring in, Marco. So get ready.
No, we're gonna have to start all in the song, yes.
And you can't edit it out.
No, we don't edit. I'm done with editing. This is all like as it goes, like if it was live. Like everything that is fun is live, and
it flies as it flies. There's no editing in the air. Right?
No editing in the air. Well, my reference was to yours was, of course, to flying, and mine was to be live on location and get to go talk to people and visit stuff and touch and experiment and play with things in person. So that's cool. And what these people can do, Sean.
Exactly. Well, this is part of our Chats on the Road to RSA Conference 2023 in San Francisco, a week full of all kinds of fun things. And Marco, one we wouldn't miss is the Sandbox, and most specifically the Aerospace Village. And I'm thrilled to have a good friend on again, two good friends. I think Hank's been on as well.
Yeah.
From the Aerospace Village, Steve and Hank, good to see you guys.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. Good to be back. And knowing that we're going to see you in person here soon.
That's right.
Yeah. And let's make the distinguish right away. There is the audio version, the video version. If you're watching the video and you're like, hey, I want to catch this up in the car later on. Yeah, there is an audio version. And here you can see the wonderful mess behind Steve back, which I love. I don't know, all those gadgets.
We're very hard to get it to this level.
I know it. And Henry
models
is
and badges
in space.
and all stuff.
Henry is in space. There's a galaxy behind. So wonderful. So Chats on the Road, Sean, what is this about? Yeah. Chats on the Road to RSA Conference.
Well, I got myself in trouble in the introduction podcast with Linda and Britta, so I'm not going to do that again.
No cow
this time. I'll steer away from the cow jokes. Now, the Chat on the Road is where we get to lead up to the actual event. So it's conversations like these, and depending on the situation, sometimes actually literally in the car, on the road, or on the beach in the car, recording stuff that matters for everybody attending RSA Conference.
I am interested to see where you guys are going to be this time, because you always do take good road trip pictures.
Yes.
Because it's a road trip as opposed to just flying out there. So that's awesome.
Exactly.
Yep. Coming from LA is definitely a road trip. For sure. For sure. We're not going to fly, but you guys make people fly everywhere. So because they're talking about the Aerospace Village, time to make the introduction. Again, Steve and Henry, let's make it round. Let's start with Steve. And, at this point, I'd say, we're good friends. We've talked so many times, met, and but not everybody knows you. So how about a little introduction by yourself, and then pass it to Henry, and let's dive in. What to expect at
Absolutely.
The Aerospace Village.
Well, it's great to be back. Thank you again. You guys are such great hosts. The show you put on, and I like hearing about it. And I know some of the folks that are going to be there and what they're doing. But your perspective and being such a good host, bringing us in, bringing Henry in, it's awesome. So we really appreciate that. And then, like I said, getting to see you on the ground. And I don't know if I've actually seen either one of you in person from all these years we've been doing this. So that's just that much better. But so my name's Steve Luczynski. For folks who have not heard me talk before, I get very excited. The Aerospace Village, we are a small nonprofit, all volunteers. So it is, and it's volunteers from around the world. You've got your California representative there with Henry coming in. not too far away from the Cal Poly area. I live in Virginia. We got folks all over the U.S., but also in the U.K., Japan, and we're growing. So if you want to learn more, pay attention. We'll post links, and we're always happy to have volunteers. But our goal, very simple, the way we say it is build relationships between government, industry, and security researchers, hackers. That's our primary audience, building trust, getting to know each other. So if something happens, we can work together more easily. We've already know each other and can get things done. It's inspiring folks to get into the cybersecurity workforce, because we all know that's a big gap. And we really want them to get into the aviation and space sectors, because it's just cool. It's airplanes and rockets and all the things that support that, which everybody loves. I know I do. And then it's promoting awareness and making sure that we can help out, whether it's bringing a network of smart people together, helping answer questions to media and others, so they know there are really smart folks. Henry's one of them, working on these hard problems to make things secure. And that's why we can trust going out there. Henry, your thoughts as a volunteer? I've been in since we started this back in 2019. Henry, I think you've been in a couple of years now. Interested in your thoughts and perspective on all of that.
Quickly though, it wasn't always Aerospace Village, was it, Steve?
Yeah, that is correct. Yep, absolutely. Thank you for that. We started off in 2019 as the Aviation Village. We had space as a component of the airplanes, the air traffic management, the communication navigation, and the space elements. But really, it's the realization that, we can't, there's no kind of about it. Space is a major part of that ecosystem. So it was a very easy shift to say, you know what, let's make sure it's very clear. Aerospace Village, encompassing all that goes into both of those very critical sectors.
Love it. Henry, sorry.
Awesome. Yeah, no worries. So I remember when walking by that, and Bo, I think, was very much involved in that in the beginning, Bo. And anyway, my name is Hank Danielson. I'm over here at Cal Poly on the central coast of California, in between Santa Barbara and San Francisco. Really enjoy basically trying to understand and help young people get into the security space. And specifically, we have something called the Space Grand Challenge, and it's middle school and high school students. We've been doing it for 6 years. In the beginning, it was we took people and they came directly to Cal Poly and stayed in the dorms for a weekend. And we set up real immersive environments so that they would feel like they were in the environment and what got hacked. We've worked with satellites. We've done the medical industry. We were actually at DEF CON at 1 year with Bo and his biohacking village as well. But my passion is getting young people into that space. I work with JPL, Space Force, and Space Missile Command. I'm a professor at Cal Poly. It sounds like a bunch of ego, but it's not. I'm just a happy guy and super agreeable. And I just really enjoy doing what I do. I'm also a goon at DEF CON, which is a really big fun thing for me to do, as well as be a part of the staff and giving back to my community. And that's exactly why I joined the Aerospace Village. Been doing satellite compromises and hacking and understanding how space and orbitology works, and really getting into that. And I wanted to give back to Aerospace Village. And so I've been doing volunteers for a while here now. This is my 3rd year, and just super excited. The community is amazing. What you learn from someone sitting with them in 10 minutes is just great. And what a great community it is. And just loving what I do. And I'm really excited about RSA. It's going to be awesome. And our sandbox and the people that we bring there, stupefying, from, having wonderful demos to actually flying a plane. Let's do some, actual plane flying and looking out.
Simulator. Actual simulator.
Yeah, simulator. Well, I feel like I was really flying it. So
that's right. So if there's any doubt at all, what Henry talked about in the sense of what Cal Poly does and how it fits with our mission and why we love working with them and having them as a partner, supporting what they're doing, growing interest, growing the workforce. But holy cow, the energy, like, this is dialed down, Hank. The happiness and energy he brings, I absolutely enjoy. It's so awesome. He knows the community. He brings so much in, and that's what we're hoping that, when your audience, if they come out to RSA, please come by, see us. Henry's going to be there. I'm going to be there. And these are the kind of folks you're going to meet and learn from. And it's just so much fun to do.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
I'm humbled to be a part of this team. And it's every year I learn something new, and it's super fun.
I remember in Vegas.
Yes.
You guys doing the walk around, and the energy, no question, the energy is there. The energy's there. I'm excited to be on location with you. So let's talk about the village itself, kind of the big picture there, Steve. Henry talked about a few things in there, but what's the purpose and what are some of the main attractions in there?
Yeah, and I think you're talking about specifically what we're bringing to RSA this year, right? Yeah, so within that mission of what I talked about, one of the nice thing for the village, but what marries up nicely with RSA, a vendor-heavy business audience, but what they're trying to do very purposely in this area they call the sandbox is they want to bring in more technical, hands-on experience what's happening, learn from experts. Nobody's going to try and sell you anything. I'm sure if you want to have that conversation, you can go somewhere else. Yeah, they'll gladly sell stuff to you, have no doubt. But the whole point of the sandbox is to be able to interact on not the craziness of the vendor floor. It's not the main stage talks. It's a combination in the sense of we have some folks that are going to be up on stage that we have brought in that I'll tell you about. But also in our part of the village, we have our partners that support our work. They support our work throughout the year, the events that we go to, that we bring them into because they offer such great expertise and insight from their different businesses, and it gives opportunities to teach people. So for example, CT Cube, very small company doing some great work. They have built both a in-person Mars rover simulated machine and a drone. They also built virtual versions because they started all of this before when COVID hit. And so they use those to teach engineers, you're engineering to design this perfect rover that's going to go to Mars, that you're not going to be able to do a lot of updates and changes to. But here's what happens if you don't design cybersecurity, and here's the problems that you can induce if you don't think about that early. So while it's an engineering model of not an airplane thing necessarily, it is representative of what goes on in this sector when you're dealing with spacecraft, when you're dealing with aircraft, and the importance of putting cybersecurity in. So not only are you going to see this in person right in front of you and talk to these folks, but they've got the AR, VR version of things so you can really experience and see what that's all about. That's one of our partners. There's another partner, Intelligenesis. They are bringing in a kit where they use a runway lighting scenario to demonstrate the importance of industrial control system cybersecurity elements and how that can impact aircraft light or the lighting systems that pilots use when they're landing at night and in bad weather. So very simple demonstrations, but again, in a technical means that you're not going to get on the vendor floor or in a main stage talk at RSA. The third one that's also coming in is Boeing. They've been a partner of ours for several years now, and they have an activity to demonstrate not only is it the cybersecurity of an aircraft, but how do you maintain that continuous security level and that continuous authorization to make sure things are good on all of those complex systems. And then, like Henry said, it's always a fun one. Our partners, Pentest Partners, is the name of that group. They have built an Airbus simulator, and if you've been to our sandbox in the past, they had a very large cockpit setup. They've actually built a much smaller, more portable, easy to move around because of all the work they do to bring it to these different events. But what they're demonstrating is with the iPad that pilots use, it's called an electronic flight bag, all the charts, all the data and calculations they bring into the cockpit because they use that for their takeoff data. And if that has a vulnerability, which they have found, and it's not fixed, and somebody wanted to do something bad to it, here's the ways it can affect what the pilot's doing. So it's a great demonstration of the simplicity of these systems and how the smallest thing can cause a problem. But they can demonstrate, and because they've disclosed it and had it fixed, the importance of these things, while they may be simple, they can have large impacts. So that's a great story that they tell.
Sounds like a lot of fun, like my kind of fun, actually.
Right.
There's definitely plenty to do.
Just gonna hang out in the village, Marco.
Well, yeah, you know, when we see, I kind of refer to the fact that we met because in my head there is DEF CON Village when we met Monroe and all the other guys, and I, you know,
But
and
you
I
were
was
not
like,
there, Steve.
Yeah, I was just thinking about. I'm like, wait.
What were you doing? What were you
It
doing?
was Coops. We met Coops first.
Yeah, Coops. That's right.
That's
But
right.
here's my thing. I'm thinking about this convergence, this merging of, you know, space and airplane, and I'm gonna make a little advertisement for myself. I got the pleasure of having 2 episodes with Eileen Collins, commander of the Space Shuttle for mission. And the second one is coming up soon, where we talk about the future of space exploration. And one question she said she likes to answer is, where is space? And she goes into explaining, do we consider space a certain point in the air, above the atmosphere when you're going around? But then it just started, as you said, the convergence of the two, that it's all together. I mean, even just communication. And we get this security. We get on a plane, we're like, it's safe. And it is. I mean, way safer than what it used to be. But all the things behind that. So a little bit of the background, maybe Steve and Henry, of how can you embrace all of these and how everything works together. We don't have 5 hours, but maybe a little summary of why it's important that this came together.
Henry, you want to start, because I know I can go on it for quite a while.
Yeah, sure. And I'll stick into I'll talk a little bit about Cal Poly's current. They had a wonderful grant from the Air Force Research Labs, and they have a current setup where they bought a wonderful Cessna plane. Blows my mind. It has the little logo on there and everything. And what they're doing is amazing. They're doing 2 things. One is they have a control center that is a simulator, and then it actually connects with the plane. So what's happening is they'll have 12 students in a hangar. Actually, it's the upstairs part of a hangar, and they're connected with the plane as well as the pilot as they're going out. So the students are actually watching what's happening, and every week one of the students gets to actually take control and show and tell, hey, the real pilot, this is what you need to do. So it's a simulator, but with a real person in a real plane. And the other parts that they're trying to do is understanding jamming, spoofing, and to see what maybe hacker Hank could do to block the communication from that plane and their actual control tower, which again is a hangar. So that's just kind of one of the things that the Learn by Doing in Cal Poly and Aerospace Village is definitely part of. And I think it's just really amazing because we're doing what you said, Marco, the convergence of space as well as cybersecurity. So trying to protect others that are flying around is what you're asking. That's in my head one of the forefront things. And I like to call it with the industry security by design. And you have to start there, where most of the time we go after the fact. And we've changed that even with, I'll just throw out CISA Jen and all of her wonderful people at CISA changing that. And they're even doing it for aerospace as well as space. So they're thinking. And then also the Aerospace Corporation has a wonderful thing out there that's very similar to MITRE. It's called Sparta, and it talks about the attacks that happen in space. So I'll settle down there, but I just wanted to give you kind of an overview of what my thoughts were from the Cal Poly side, as well as to the Aerospace Village and cybersecurity.
And those are some of our partners that have participated with us at previous events and continuing to support them. And I think the other aspect, in addition to what Hank was talking about, to even going back to what you said, Marco, is when you look at all the critical infrastructure sectors that are currently defined by government, there's 16 total. Space is not one of them. There's discussions about whether or not it should be. But when you do the analysis, space absolutely plays a role in all of them, either a primary role or even just a secondary role, but still a significant secondary role. When you're doing a financial transaction in the banking sector, that's all done through GPS, which is not something people know about. And I've talked about that even on here before, but it's not something that occurs to you. So like, why do I worry about space? Well, in the aviation context, sure, I've got airplanes going around, the communications, the navigation, the safety involved. What about satellites? Yep, there's commerce, but that's where I get my XM radio folks that are doing that, or when I'm watching a movie on an airplane or whatever's going on, all of those things, internet coverage, things of that nature. But it's all these other areas in our lives that we don't always realize. So the importance of these sectors is not just travel or the gee whiz of what NASA does and all that. It's all these other values that sector brings to our lives because of these other activities.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys do an amazing job of bringing all of those parts together.
Yeah, I appreciate
that. From the research community to industry to government and policymakers. And Steve, I want to go there with you because you have a session at RSA, and I think at RSA Conference, and there's, I mean, it's one thing, and it's amazing to have a village in the sandbox, right? To bring exposure and raise awareness for this. Even cooler, maybe, I don't know, but to have a spot on the main stage.
Yeah, so that whole setup, that was really impressive, that RSA cut this space, dedicated it for us to, all of us. There's other sandboxes there. If you want to focus on industrial control systems, there's a car hacking sandbox that looks at car systems, how they operate, not just security side. I believe Internet of Things will also have a portion there, right? So you've got these different groups that have their subject matter focus areas like we do, but it's also
important to get into the detail.
That's right, exactly. And so you've got that hands-on portion, like I mentioned, but then when they bring in speakers, and my gosh, the range of speakers, I remember previous years, Chris Krebs, when he was director of CISA, he's come in and talked before, and others like him. I know this year we are bringing in 2 sessions that the Aerospace Sandbox is behind, along the lines of what you were saying. One of them is Andre Kostin. He is a research professor at University of Finland. He's also the CEO of Binary.io. And he's going to talk about the research that him and his group have done related to space systems. And particularly, one of the examples that really stood out to me is emergency locator beacons. So if you crash in the ocean, you're lost as a hiker in the woods, these emergency locators go to a satellite system, and it's around the world. And so these things, again, have impact on our daily lives. The other session, and I'm actually really excited because I'm going to be a part of it, is doing a fireside chat with Hector Morales from FAA's Air Traffic Organization. And the idea is, we think of FAA, they're a regulator, they're the hammer, they're the ones the industry worries about in a bad way. But that's not completely true in the sense that when they're looking at cybersecurity, they know, yes, we have this regulatory role, but how do we encourage and support collaboration? How do we make sure we're talking to these other parts of industry and the security researchers that have this technical knowledge, and how do we leverage that, and how do we work together? And it's being able to share the story of the different things that they support, which I really enjoy, and our village benefits from, because those are efforts that we are supporting, and we want to bring in that government partner to continue growing that and building more of that collaboration wherever we can.
Yeah, and I want to go back to Hank and talk about the education, because you make a big distinction. I mean, let's face it, RSA Conference is a business. It's about education as well, and you guys are just about education. And you can do it with kids. You can do it. You talked to Hank about the initiative that you guys have, but so there's all these people that are going to be at RSA Conference, come with the company, come with an objective, but why not taking the opportunity to go and visit all these villages and learn about things that maybe they're not in your line of business, but in a way they are in your line of life. So Hank, tell me about the importance and why you're so excited. I feel like I'm kind of sleeping compared to you when I'm talking. and the other thing is why you do all this, like why education is so important.
Great. Well, first of all, I tell my students the first day of class, I have ADHD, ADD, LMNOP, and hyperactivity. So just check off all those boxes. So if I go spacey a little, it's because of my brain and how it works. And they enjoy that and they respect that. But to your point, education, yes, absolutely. And I want to highlight another one. One of our vice presidents of Cal Poly, of ITS, Bill, one of my mentors and great friends, working with CubeSats. I don't know if you know, but Cal Poly was the originator with CubeSats. Stanford and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo were the first ones that built it. There's no ego it's attached. It just was, they came up with something, they did something good. And now look, we're looking at Starlink and Amazon and all these other companies trying to get, this just blows my mind, trying to get, wonderful internet to places where we've normally not been able to have it. Now there was balloons before, and now these actual CubeSats, constellations of 10,000 of them, 8,000 of them is working. And so my point is, it's educating yourself to understand some of these things. And I loved what Steve said about GPS. Right now, people don't realize that is a critical infrastructure. It is. It's also, it's for wartime and protecting us as well. There's so many facets go along with that. And I think with RSA, the education that you can actually bring and come and see, you will take yourself to the next level. Even if you walk around to 3 villages, I guarantee you will learn 3 to 5 things that you didn't know about that space or that discipline. And just watching it really gets me, juiced up, because I think it's so cool to help people understand things that they may not. And later in life, they may make a change or do something or help others or want to give, to an organization that's making things better and doing cybersecurity. So I hope that answered a little bit of your education question. But yes, being pro education, and I think it's just really important. And, that underpinnings of something simple that turns into something huge is just amazing to me. And I just get infatuated, and I'm learning every day. I was just hardening Active Directory today from the CISA people. How do you do that out the gate instead of doing it after the fact? So anything from computing all the way up to the space genre, the LEOs and the GEOs, and hopefully you'll learn by doing, and go check out what I'm talking about, LEOs and GEOs. So that's what I got to say about education.
Your point, and the two of you are exemplary of this. Everything we've kind of said to this point is go and suck out of the village as much as you can.
Yeah, that's what we're there for.
That's what you're there
It is fun to share this. And for those of you who don't know, RSA has College Day on that last Thursday, where I think they just open it up and let students in. And of course, they pull every trinket off the vendor floor possible. But when those students come rocking into the sandbox, they're awesome, because they are the same energy as Henry. They want to learn. They want to know more. They ask, where can I go find out more about this? And we're like, here you go. We got websites. We got people we know. You want to learn more about Boeing, or you want to learn more about these other partners we're talking about? Oh, you want to work at the FAA? Here, go talk to this guy. It's just all of that coming together. That's our whole purpose. How do we connect these folks to learn these things and put that energy to good use and inspire the next generation of folks to come in and do this after us?
Exactly.
And I want to inject really quick, if I can.
Please.
Security researchers are awesome. but sometimes companies don't want to work with them. There's a big hesitation. And Steve and the Aerospace Village and the rest of the crew have changed that landscape. And that to me is heartwarming as a hacker on the side, as a social engineer, as well as a ethical hacker. You know, that to me is really powerful. When they bridge those two gaps, man, that's awesome.
Yep. And you led me to the other point I wanted to make, which is why not go and contribute to the village as well as suck everything out of it that you can?
Well, believe me, we are open to the contributors, and that contribution is, you know, think about the things that I described. If you are interested because you have equipment and activities that demonstrate, that teach these concepts, if you have folks that want to come in and talk, yes, if you think you would like your money to go to a good cause like this nonprofit, I will absolutely help you with that. But it's that entire range of things that we offer that's where the benefit is our audience gets this, the folks who bring this in, the interactions they have with the audience, the benefits to their company, to their research, it's motivating to their teams that they bring in. It works very well. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just thinking the story of the AD story you just mentioned, right? At the end of the day, these are all systems that communicate, store data, transmit data, act on data. Yes, they may use different protocols and different operating systems and different APIs and different, but it's still systems. And so the more we can work together.
And I don't want the general public to worry about that. I want them to go, I don't know, but they got it. Exactly. I'm going to get on this airplane and I'm not going to worry about it. Of all the things I have to worry about, it's not going to be the cyber side. And all the things to worry about on the space stuff, it's not going to be those particular aspects, because here's the crew. I've met them. I've seen what they do. It's great. Yes, my trust is well placed and continue to be that way.
You know, it's a way to think ahead, right? So I love the whole space exploration thing. And the other day I'm looking at the European Space Agency and the American one and the Japanese. They're all working together because now it's time to make a time standard zone on the moon, because, you know, it's not just keeping the time of the Apollo mission or the Artemis mission, but it's actually the time of maybe there are 2-3 different rovers and then the community that we're going to build there. So just by thinking that, it's not that far away. I mean, the future is kind of here. So that connection between, you know, that you're going to need that communication and all of that, it really, it's kind of like when the explorer went on the new continent and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, hey, that's everyday thing. Now we just fly there. I feel like going to the moon and maybe on Mars and somewhere else is going to come soon. So we got to think ahead, right? All of this is the way to think ahead. So what's the future looking like? Come on,
can I say something about that? Or you want to go first, Steve? You know, I get a
little.
No, you both get to go. Don't be jealous. You go.
Okay, so
that was me pointing to you and all of your energy, please.
So one of the things that I'm proud to work on, and you can GTS that. I like to tell my students, Google that stuff, or Google that shizzle, if you know what I mean. But I work with Vint Cerf and the Interplanetary Networking Special Interest Group. And this is a wonderful group that is planning the policy and the next generation of a deep space network. How do you work with countries all over to say, hey, these are the protocols, by the way, and we have to change that because we're going to be on the moon pretty soon with 5G is my thoughts, right? That's going to be one of the things they set up. Well, probably 7G by the time, you know, technology changes so fast. But my point is 20 years we've been waiting, and Vint was one of the original for the TCP/IP stack and worked at JPL and all over the place for the Deep Space Network. And that is our future. It's coming. And they're trying to figure out with all these other groups. And it is the most fascinating group because there's 7, 9, 12 different countries on that call that are trying to work together to come up with policies and different things. And my other thing is the future and workforce development, my last little point. With our Space Grand Challenge that we have, we just ran it. We're going to run it again in May. We'll do it again in February 24. Middle and high school students, you'd be blown away by the time they leave there, understanding how to sniff a packet with Wireshark and understanding what a deep space network is, how the bundle protocol works. You're going, I don't know what that means, Henry. Well, they do. And to me, that is really changing the landscape, because the next generation, or what I like to call our, cyber warriors that are up and coming, those kids are going to be able to work for JPL or work for NASA, because they're going to develop the systems that help protect us for the next generations to come. So those are my two little snippets for Space Grand Challenge again. And hopefully we get to put a couple links in there about IPNSIG and the other groups that we're doing and working.
You can definitely come back and talk about that on another podcast. I mean, I love to.
Cool.
I love to do that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Only if Steve comes.
And those are not small snippets. Those are huge, significant issues. And, Henry's in deep space networks, and I'm starting to think back to what you mentioned, Marco, the whole cislunar and the traffic management and setting up way stations and just things that we've never even considered. And they were born out of Apollo, but now they're really, really being applied. And then come back even further. So you're, thinking of the future, right? So now we're into your supersonic aircraft are coming back, right? You've got airlines buying and investing, and there's goodness there, and there's now new cybersecurity concerns. And so being involved with that, and then I'll go all the way down to urban and other advanced air mobility and autonomous air mobility capabilities, and then down to the simplest drones and all that there. So there's the work that already is there, which is significant. And then there's all these other things that we've mentioned. That's a whole new universe of stuff. So again, the importance of the workforce, the importance of building in cybersecurity throughout and being able to stay ahead. Let's not relearn the lesson. Let's learn from it and apply those so that we can do better as we go forward.
It all starts in the village.
I think another interesting.
I like that idea. I may have to share some credit with others, but yeah.
I also think too, the cool future, how they're going to have these planes come down, just land, go up to LEO 7 or 8 times, drop off a few CubeSats, come back down, zip zap, zip zap, zip zap. The future is just, I don't know. We're really living in a wonderful time, and we're lucky to be here right now. And I just think that's really amazing. And Paso Robles has applied for a spaceport. So that's another cool thing. I'm living locally, and I want that to happen. I want to see, those kind of airplanes come and drop off our wonderful CubeSats for the students to learn and do science and do those cool things. So anyway,
I'm going to open a fast food joint next to it.
What'd you say, Sean?
I'm going to open up a fast food joint next to it.
That's right.
I'm in. As
The
long as you
local
have
hangout with the deck, so you can watch everything and they can come inside to get the food. I'm with you.
Right there.
That's awesome. Awesome. Space burgers.
Rocket burger.
Rocket burger. There you go.
So you were showing something earlier, Hank.
Oh yeah, my badges. So badge life is part of my life. So is Steve's. He just doesn't admit it. But every year at RSA, as well as DEF CON, there's badges everywhere. What are they? Great question. Thanks for asking the person in the back. What they are is fun things to hack, fun things to learn how to solder, fun ways to share a piece of information that you want to share with others. There's something called shizzy add-ons or silly add-ons, if you don't want to use abusive language on the internet or the interwebs. But anyway, it's a really fun way. And a lot of times hackers and others use electronics to put puzzles or challenges on them. And we've created some where it's a satellite and you go on a website and do a bunch of cross-site scripting, or you're going to do some SQL injection or SQL, whichever planet you're on. So it's a fun way to play with devices, solder them, as well as learn. Maybe there's a Caesar cipher on there or some kind of encryption. As a person learning about security, they are wonderful devices. And having students learn how to solder, I'm right up in there with young people understanding circuitry and electronics, because they're everything. Heck, they're in your toaster, friend. You can flip that sucker over and do it. And I got a card for my dad that was, you open it up and it plays a sound or whatever, right? Well, I ripped that thing apart and there was Badge Life underneath it. And it's playing, a Snoopy song or something or whatever it was. But those are and I want to reverse engineer it. Why did they make it so big? It could have been this big, I'm thinking in my head but anyway, Badge Life, really fun way to get people interested. And they have blinky lights. I mean, who doesn't like blinky lights? So,
and the beauty is RSA, again, in the sandbox is supporting it. So this is not to be confused with your standard, for those of you who have been, RSA, the giant badge with your name and the scanning and all that. This is specific to the sandbox, so show up early. I'm sure there's going to be limited numbers, but they purposely had someone design so it represents the different sandboxes, villages that I've described and what we've been talking about. And they've also got little add-ons that you can go around. So as you interact and you talk to these folks, that you can add to your badge. It's absolutely, it's fun to do because of that kind of interaction with the people. It's fun to do because there's usually something buried in the badge and you have to figure out what it is. And you usually have to talk to somebody to do it. So on your own, the technology side, the people interaction side, and it's a blinky light and it looks cool. So they're a lot of fun to do, and RSA is bringing that in this year.
And I want to make one last comment as we're running out of time, and Sean will do like a nice recap because he's really good at it. But the villages, right? I mean, we didn't talk much about the DEF CON, the origin of the villages.
Yeah.
If not many people had the fantastic experience to be there. I consider myself lucky, and that's again what we were referring when we almost meet Steve, but he wasn't there, and Hank was there. But the meaning of this village, they're all volunteers. They're all people passionate. There is, the lock picking one. There is the ham radio. There is all you can think about security is there. And you guys are now going around. And I made a joke like this a long time ago with Sean and Bryson Bort from talking about the village, and I call it the circus because I had in mind the itinerant tent that you bring somewhere, you rebuild it from scratch, and you give access to many different people in many different locations. It's become like a never-ending joke with Bryson, this one. And the ICS Village, but it's the truth. And I love to see this going at RSA. I want to see it going at RSA in Singapore. I want to see it everywhere. And the fact that you have a website, people can interact. Not everybody can travel, but they can get to experience and learn remotely. So that's my big appreciation for you representing an entire community of villages here.
Yeah, thank you for that. I do appreciate it. And to be a part of it is just awesome. Unfortunate for COVID, but wow, the lesson in the sense of what we've done with virtual, where I've spoken at a conference in Argentina virtually. I wish I would have been able to go, but that kind of global reach, things we've done in the UK and we continue to do because it still works for our audience who wants to watch. And then being able to get out there and support others in their conferences. Absolutely. And
I heard Singapore, so I want to do the Singapore one again.
Right.
Sure, I'll do our.
I'll carry your bag if you need help.
I'm hoping we can get the fast plane there, Steve. You got that connect, right? That's right.
I don't care. Fast or slow, that's always a great place to.
That's right.
To go anyway.
Yes,
absolutely. And until then, we'll see you in San Francisco.
Yes, can't wait to high five.
In the sandbox, in the village, in the virtual simulator, playing with rovers and CubeSats and looking at Boeing systems inside and out.
Thanks RSA as well for having us, and really a huge shout out to them. They're amazing people.
Yeah,
great support. Exactly.
So thank you, Steve and Hank, for taking the time to share with us all this cool stuff and for taking the time to put it all together. I know there's a lot of work that goes into this, and we're going to collect a gazillion links.
Yes, absolutely. And I have to mention Adrian, another one of our volunteers.
Yes.
You just moderated a panel at Women in Cybersecurity's event. again, an amazing volunteer. She's directly part of the RSA planning team with Henry and I. And again, can't do this without folks like her and that awesome support. You all, again, great partners with us and really appreciate, happy to support anytime we can.
Yep,
Cheers.
absolutely.
Thank you, John and Marco.
We're sad to miss Adrian on this recording. Hopefully we'll get her on location in San Francisco.
For sure.
That'd be good to do that. All right. So thanks everybody for listening, and stay tuned for notes with all the links that I mentioned, and of course more conversation. We actually have 2 more related to the Aerospace Village. We're gonna chat with Ken Monroe from Pen Test Partners, and Adam and team from CT Cubed as well. So much more to come as part of our RSA conference coverage. Stay tuned, everybody.
Yep. Share, subscribe, be merry. See ya.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you learned something new and this story made you think, then share ITSPmagazine with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our columns. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.